Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Jeff from Stuff I Made. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're all keeping safe. So yeah, I'm back to the channel making videos again. I took a little while out from it, but yeah, I have a queue of projects coming up, some real great ones. Okay, today's video is a product review. Now, I haven't done product reviews before. I've been sent products on the basis that I would do a review of it. I've not been that impressed with it, and rather than just slate it, I've sent it back to them. But this one I purchased from Evolution Tools, a metal chop saw. I did a lot of research and plumped for this one. And I had one question for them. I can't remember what it was, but in contacting them, it came up that I had a YouTube channel, and they decided to send me free of charge the next model up so I could review both and compare them as well. So I'm not swayed by the fact I was sent a free item. I'll be totally truthful with you about what I think about it. Okay, so first things first, when you first buy the chop saw, this locking pin is in the locked position, which means you can pick the chop saw out of the box or carry it around with this sturdy handle. To release the pin, you have to depress or put a little bit of pressure on the front of the saw, like now, and then just pull that pin out and it's then released. Be careful because the spring's a really strong spring and it will just fling up. Okay, so when I first unboxed the chop saw, I noticed that on the S355, the blue model, that the blade had a tiny bit of surface rust, just where it's packaged into the cardboard, and it, mostly brushes off, but it's just a little niggle. It would be nice if perhaps Evolution Tools used wax paper inside that cardboard just to protect the blade. Like I said, the R355, the orange one, no problem at all, so I think that's just a bit unfortunate. Tiny little niggle, no problem really. And you'll see later in this video that it certainly didn't affect any performance of the saw and the cut quality. And actually you see that most of it comes off after a couple of cuts. So yeah, there we go. So with both of the chop saws from here up, they're identical, or almost identical. One's blue plastic, one's orange plastic. The guards, the motors, the spec of everything's just the same. This one has this plastic shield, which the other one doesn't. And I'm sure if you look behind the label, which I'm pointing to now, there would be a screw hole to locate such a guard, but yeah, that's the only difference I can see. The spec of the motors is identical, and I'll show you that spec in a second. But just before I do that, I'll just take a look at where the locking pin is for the blade. So it's this little button here. It's solid. When you depress it and hold it in, it locks the blade securely, unlike a lot of commercial routers that you get. Those locking pins don't really hold the chuck, but this does. And this is the spec. If you just take a pause of this and compare them, you'll see the blade size, the motor spec and RPMs are all the same. Yeah, so now let's look at changing blades. So to change the blade, you need to press that button in that I just showed you, and also use an Allen key. Now the unit comes supplied with an Allen key, and there's a little nice socket to hold it so you never lose it. So yeah, you just undo this top one slightly, and then you swing the guard out of the way, which is really nice because you don't only have to deal with one bolt, not the other. And then with the locking pin depressed, just lever on this nut. Now I've got a slightly longer Allen key, which gives me a bit more leverage, so I'll use that one. So the blade's held in very sturdily. There's a big hefty metal plate against the blade which keeps it very flat. So I'm not going to take the blade off, I'm just showing you how easy it is to actually change the blade. So there's a spring-loaded blade guard that moves out of the way as the blade would make contact with the tallest piece of metal, and that guard has a little rolled piece at the end with a bit of plastic so that it wouldn't scrape across anything you were cutting. As I mentioned, the Allen key has a hole where you can keep it safe. It's got a little rubber grommet to hold it snugly, so reduces the chance of losing it. Both bases are very sturdy. The blue one's is a bit beefier, made of aluminium, and the orange one is made of steel. Both have the mounting holes for attaching it to a work surface, and the S355, the blue one, has the metal insert below the clamp, and that's probably because the clamp's a little bit beefier and it protects the base from being scraped up. So the R355 doesn't have the insert because the base is made of steel and the clamp is slightly less beefy, but very adequate for the job. You get a feel of strength and clamping pressure when you use it, as you'll see later. Both of the handles appear to be made of aluminium and coated in paint. The thread on the blue one is slightly deeper, thicker, flathead, probably because of the quick release clamp. But you'll see in a second how easy the R355, the orange one, is to spin and to quickly move the clamp out of the way. So both models came with an attachment that slides onto the back of the clamp. Now their purpose is to be able to hold pipe, round stock, angle iron, and just give it a really good clamping force and hold it very sturdily, and you'll see that in use later. Very easy to slide on and off. Both models have an adjustable depth stop with a locking nut, and that just means that you can cut part the way through the metal. So if you wanted to bend it or something, you could just do a part cut. Now this is the R355, and this is the S355, and you can just see the slight difference in the base there. Okay, so this is one of the main differences between the two models. This quick release handle, which can be lifted up and spun out the way once it's locked, it looks plastic but it's not, it's metal, it's very sturdy and locks it very solidly. There's a locking pin or an indent pin which will drop into one of the holes, preset at 90 and 45, very accurate. And this is the fence on the R355. Now obviously you have to use an Allen key, but if you undo that bolt and open the fence all the way so you feel it tight against it and then tighten it up, it's accurate to 45 degrees. It was a really pleasant surprise how accurate it is. There's some very clear markings on both the fence and the base. On this model there is no chip tray to pull out and collect the chips, but there's a guard at the back that deflects the chips down, and there's a hole that puts some chips through below the blade when it makes its cut. So this is the quick release clamp. You take a couple of spins and then release that little lever, and the clamp can move very quickly to accommodate wide stock or narrow stock. And this is the handle. I'm just showing how it lifts up and spins out of the way, so if you had a taller piece of metal it would be out of the way. Very sturdy, and once clamped down, just as solid as anything. So I'm just going to clamp down on that, and you can just see, even just before I put tension on it, it was really solid. And just to show you how accurate it is, I've got this 45 degree, and you can see just as it touches the blade, and it's touching both surfaces flush. And you'll see on some cuts later how accurate it is now. And now just taking it back to 90, and you can see, hopefully you can see there that it's touching the blade all the way along that, and the clamping surface all the way along as well. And now on the R355, the orange model, and the same from the clamp face to the blade, 90 degrees. So this is the first time I test it to 45 to test it, and I was a bit tentative in setting it, so I was just looking for the markings and doing it by that, but then I decided to push it all the way against the bolt, which you see now, and tighten it down, and then you'll see how accurate it is to 45, and once again spot on. And yeah, you'll see in the cuts, as I say. I mentioned earlier these two attachments, well, one for each unit, and I'm just showing you clamping some aluminium round stock and how easy it is to get to that clamping pressure even without the quick release clamp. So held very sturdily, and then here on the quick release clamp, just popping it into place, throw on the locking thread, and then just apply some clamping pressure. And you'll see in a second I lift the whole unit up, or tilt the whole unit over just from holding the end of the aluminium, and you can see it just does not budge at all. It's rock solid in there. So the S355 has this tray at the back, which is a sprung loaded little lock which holds it and doesn't let any vibration or allow for any vibration at all. It's rock solid, and that little tray catches a large amount of the chippings off of the metal. Both models have the same type of operating switch, so they have a safety release catch. You just can't switch it on without just knocking that over first and releasing it. It's a safety feature, which is really nice. So if you use the attachment on the clamp to hold your stock at 45 degrees, it'll make your blade last a lot longer. It's a lot easier to cut through the metal at 45 degrees, and just increases the longevity of the blades. That said, I'm just going to put the blades to test really and just see what they do. So this is some 25mm box tubing that's 1.5mm wall thickness on it. and this is actual speed. And I'm not applying much pressure at all, it's just going through it very easily. Obviously you'd expect it to. You see how few sparks there were? I mean, insane. I was expecting a firewall of sparks. This is my first cut, so I'm a bit nervous about touching the metal, but actually it's stone cold. I mean, with a thicker piece of metal, it might get a tiny bit of warmth, but it is very cold. And just to show you the accuracy that I was talking about earlier, how spot on it is to 90 degrees or 45, I'll just show you with each cut. I'm trying to angle it so you can see it here. I mean, it's spot on. You can see how clean the cut is. There's a very tiny amount of burr, if anything at all. Okay, so still on the R35, 355, cutting 40mm by 40mm, 3mm wall stock, box tubing, and see how few sparks there you go, and you could probably sit there and count them if you wanted. It goes through it very easily. This is the multi-material blade, so not even the mild steel blade. It's a very clean cut. I'll show you that now. Again, cold to the touch. I left it a couple of seconds, but literally no temperature at all. And let's have a look at this mirror-like finish. I mean, you can see a few slight lines in it, but it is 90 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to cut some, I think it's 25 by 50, and I think it's 2mm box tubing. Now I'm going to do a 45 degree cut. Now you can move that back plate forward into 3 positions to enable the blade to cut all the way through stock when it's at 45 degrees. But actually, if you throw in a piece of stock behind it, you can bring the metal forward depending on the size of the metal you're cutting. So just bring it forward like that and insert some flat stock behind it, and then you can get your 45 cut all the way through without having to move the face. Now for me, most of my stock won't be that big, so I could just move the face forward and leave it forward anyway. But I'm just going to set this up now to 45. And just to show you how sturdy this is, this piece of metal is 2 meters long, and once I clamp it in here and hold it here, it is not supported on the back end, and I totally let go of it, and that clamp just holds it. Just let me apply a little bit of pressure now. There we go, and that's held in place 2 meters off the back of there, or 1 3/4 meters just off the back of that. And now I'm cutting through at 45 degrees, and again cutting across the flat of it, so I'm not doing, well, in this instance for a 45 degree cut you'd have to, I suppose, but you saw how few sparks that was again. And I'll keep repeating myself, cold to the touch. And let's have a look at the 45 degrees now. Okay, I knocked a little bit of burr off just before checking a tiny amount of burr, just so I could get that angle right to the edge, and it's 45 degrees. So I'm just going to cut a bit of, I think this is 50mm aluminium rod, and I'm using the multi-material blade, so not even a dedicated aluminium blade, and it's going through it very, very well. This is actual speed. I'm taking it very easy. You could go through this a lot quicker, but I'm just not putting any pressure on that. And yeah, obviously it's at 90, same as everything else. So let's take a look at the S355 and see how that does. So I'm cutting the 40 by 40 3mm thick wall box tubing with the mild steel blade, and again I'm not angling it at 45 degrees. You can see everything's being, or the majority is being shot back into that little tray and going down into the hole below. There's a few bits coming off to the side. Again, I took it very easy, nice clean cut. Instantly cold to the touch. We'll take a look at this just so you can compare. Let me know your thoughts about what you think of the cut quality on this. I'm super impressed. So what I've got here is a piece of 5mm plate steel, and I'm just checking that it is the 5mm stock. I ordered a box off of eBay just so I could practice my welding. It's ideal for that, but also useful just to test the vertical accuracy of 90 degrees against the blade to the base of the base of the base. Now as I cut through this, I'm just going to take it very easy. and apply very little pressure. You could go through this a lot quicker. I just want to see what it does. And again, very tidy, very sharp lines, minimal sparks. I mean, there was one, maybe 2 or 3 you see coming through that, but that's it. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Let's see. With the thicker stock there, I was just being a bit more cautious about any heat in the metal, but again, lukewarm at best. I mean, what can I say really? Just the level of the accuracy of this is just surpassed my expectations. I'm super pleased. And you know, the other feature that I really like is that quick release clamp. Having used it now for a few days, I really like that. It's a nice feature, so we'll talk about that now. They're both brilliant machines. They're both cut very clean, accurate cuts. This blade is the 32 tooth blade, yeah, and this is the 66 teeth blade. This is the mild steel, and this is a multi-material blade which cuts aluminium, plastics, woods, and the mild steel. Cut quality for me was identical today, so great. What I really liked is how cool the material was, how few sparks there were. Yeah, I mean, and the accuracy of it. I was not expecting right angles to be that, accurate. I chose this style of machine over the ones with the large flat discs purely because I watched a lot of videos on the ones with flat discs. I don't see the same level of accuracy out of them. You go through so many blades so quickly. There's loads of sparks, but the heat you get out of them. But having used flat discs in angle grinders and having them break and shatter and go everywhere, that worries me. So from a safety aspect, these machines just are so much safer, so much cleaner, more accurate, and these blades will last a long time. So the difference between the two machines then, I mean, from here up, identical. From here down, slightly beefier pieces of, elements to it. But if I didn't know about this one and I just had that one, I'd be perfectly happy. I'd be over the moon, in fact. They're very easy to get to 90 degrees and 45 degrees. Probably slightly easier with this one because of the handle and the locking pin there. But, using an Allen key just to adjust to 45 degrees for a few cuts, not an inconvenience. If you're cutting wider stock, I do think this quick release clamp is a big plus, because if you're moving between like 25mm box tubing and 100mm, 180mm, then you're not having to spin the thing. But again, it's a minor thing. So it just depends what you're doing more of, really. Yeah. So anyhow, Evolution Tools have said to me that I can put a link below and give you 5% off these machines. So yeah, check out the link below. There's no kickback to me. This is purely from them to you. I'm passing it through. Obviously, I've had this, but my review and opinion is totally unbiased by being given this. It's genuinely my impressions of it. I think if you go out there and look at other reviews of the flat disc machines and compare to the reviews of what other people are saying about these machines, I think you'll probably hear that they're saying the same thing as me. The quality is great. You won't be disappointed. Anyhow, just in wrapping up then, so just let me know what you think in the comments. If you've got questions, I'll try and answer them if I haven't gone into enough detail here. If you want to see more product reviews, then let me know. But more videos are coming, so make sure you hit the subscribe button, and yeah, we'll see you in the next video.